a trip to Insanity Island.
We're recording.
We are recording.
We're recording.
Okay. So, Chris,
And it's a solemn day.
we have another. We had another big news week last week. We have another big news week coming up this week because we have the election tomorrow. But in the runoff in Georgia. By the way, the SEC champions. Okay. Yeah. Say something, Chris, so it'll show up about your shirt.
Oh,
Give us. There you go. All right, so I've got a little kind of a somber thing to start our podcast with. It's December the 5th, 2022. My mother passed away Saturday. She passed her in the middle of the SEC championship game. So kind of an interesting way to go out. It was a cardiac arrest, so there wasn't any suffering. And
Tim, I am really, really, really sorry.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna miss your mom.
Thank you very much. She loved you, Chris. She really did.
You didn't have good taste. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So at any rate, she is with the Lord now. And the last thing I said to her was, "I love you, Mom, and I'll see you in heaven one day."
Did you actually say that to her?
Yeah, I said that to her. She had passed, but I said that to her.
Were you there?
I wasn't there, but I went to the hospital shortly thereafter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you said she was watching the game, so I didn't know if you were there watching.
She was watching the game. So we're in the process of setting up, a memorial service and all that, and all the things. So at any rate, love you, Mom. See you in heaven.
Hey, what were the last words you said to her alive?
I think it was
Probably I love you, because you were probably leaving.
I said we had Thanksgiving dinner. Everything was great. We did it on Saturday because we were out of town that Thursday, and she put on this great dinner. She was jovial. She was fine. Articulate, drinking wine. And when we were there all day, all night, and then we left, I just put my arm around and said, "I love you, Mom. Merry Christmas, and thank you for a great Thanksgiving dinner."
That was the last thing you said to her.
Last thing I said to her. She died a happy woman.
Man, that was one of the best things you could say to somebody before they die.
She died a happy woman. So, so like you start thinking about these things when someone close to you and you love passes away. You start thinking about the things, like the afterlife, and your relationship with God. And a lot of people say that there is no God, there is no afterlife, there is no proof of an afterlife. What do you think of that, Chris?
Well, I know evolution can't make us contemplate the idea of God, and it's not going to make us self-aware. If evolution is what created everything, we would just be homogeneous robots of mechanical evolution. Because how come we're the only ones on the planet that can even, why us? How come we can contemplate the idea of God, our existence, what we are? That takes something more than just building blocks of a body.
Or the difference between human and an animal.
Well, I mean, yeah. But
are
some
are animals capable of the self-awareness that you were describing?
Some chimps can, because they can look into mirrors and they know it's them, and they'll mess with their head and do their face because they know it's themselves. So they're a little bit they can't think of God or anything like that, but they know that it's themselves in the mirror. Most animals can't do that. Almost all animals can't do that. They think that's another animal, But you've heard of the stories where a guy will die and the dog will go to the grave and never leave.
Yes.
Or they would, or even sadder.
Somehow dogs know the emotions. Just you bring that up because, Bill, my stepfather, who's been married to my mom for 30 years, God bless him, he's great. He said his dogs knew something was wrong when Mom passed.
Well,
the dogs knew something was wrong with him emotionally.
Believe it or not, they have a smell thing that when the chemicals in they've done studies on this, and dogs are so brilliant with their scent that if it's almost like your chemicals are doing something before you die, and they can smell that that's happening, and they know it, so they get real antsy and they try to comfort you. And some cats can do the same thing. You've heard about that. Cats going to people in old folks' homes, and they always did, like, there's a story of this cat that always goes into the rooms and stays with the person that's about to die. And that,
Interesting.
somehow they know that that person's about to die.
Golly,
That is just
it's
bizarre.
just amazing. So what if someone were to say to you, and I'm not saying this, I'm saying if someone were to say this to you, someone say, Chris, I don't really believe in God. I don't think there's an afterlife because there just is no proof, and I don't think you can prove it to me. What would you say?
Okay. I got 3 words for you. Shroud of Turin.
Okay.
1978. We all know about the Shroud of Turin.
Well, no, we all don't know about it. Why don't you say
That's right. Most people are
summarizing it. What is it?
The Shroud and we ought to do a whole podcast on this one day because it would show stuff. Shroud of Turin is the cloth that buried Jesus. Many people believe. I am one of them. And it's got the imprint of a man on the front and the back, with all the scourge wound marks, the crown of thorns, the pierce in the side, same as Christ. The problem is that this is not a painted image. Matter of fact, the team in 1978 that went to Italy to look at it, their whole job was to try to figure out what made the image. And they came back Christians.
And they were not Christians before.
They were like a mismatch. There were a couple of Jews that didn't really go to temple. There were, agnostics, a couple of Catholics. It was a mixed match.
So the Shroud of Turin, is that what it's called? The Shroud of Turin?
Yeah, it's in Turin, Italy. That's why it's called.
Okay, the Shroud of Turin. So it ended up being such substantial, and we don't need to spend an hour discussing it, but the bottom line is, so people can do their own research, it ended up being so telling, this evidence, that it converted a group of men that were not otherwise Christians to be Christian.
Yeah, they proved that it was not a painting, it wasn't a print image, it wasn't any kind of image made by anybody. It was the cloth itself had aged instantly, and that's what formed the image. They can't reproduce it today.
Interesting.
So I don't see how somebody from 1352 could have made one.
What was that other quote I think you mentioned earlier about energy and it being transferred? What was that quote?
It's true. The energy cannot be destroyed. You can only transfer it. The energy's still there. Whatever energy makes you up does exist. When you die, that energy passes somewhere. It either goes off into the stratosphere or whatever. The reason I know for a fact that there's heaven, and not just the Shroud of Turin, but I had an out-of-body experience when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened?
And that's why I know. I was in Louisiana visiting our grandmother. We used to go back every year. You probably remember that. We used to go every year. We'd back to Shreveport. And I think I was like 6. And we were playing on the jungle gym near her house. There was a school near her house. And I used to wonder, why did they have cement underneath those things? Why would you
hurt us when we fell?
Exactly. It's like, why would you you should have cushions there. But anyway, I fell directly on my head from all the way at the top, all the way. It's like a 6-foot drop. Ow. Directly onto your head.
You should have been killed.
Should have been killed. I laid there. The next thing I know, I see faces all around me, and then it went black. The next thing I remember, and I've always remembered this, and I still remember it very clearly now. The next thing I remember, I could see my body walking to my grandmother's house like on autopilot. And I'm back still where the accident happened, and I'm like, what the heck? And I can see myself saying, oh my God, I better catch up to myself. Next thing I know, I'm over my body, and I'm looking at my body. And my body is just, and all the kids are buzzing around me like bees. And I could hear them saying, what's wrong with him? How come his eyes are blank? What's wrong? What's wrong? Like they were like, something's wrong with me. And as I get up to the door, I open the door and everything goes black. Next thing I know, 4 hours later, I'm waking up on the bed. My feet were down like this. Like I went to the bed, turned, sat, laid my back down with my feet off the bed, and just was out for 4 hours straight. My parents almost took me to the hospital. So the fact that I have, the only memory I have is seeing my body walk to my grandmother's house. That's an out-of-body experience.
Okay, so you had an out-of-body experience, and that presented you with enough evidence, so to speak.
You're on. You're good.
To have you say, okay, you know, I think there's something more to this just life on Earth.
It made me always wonder. I always wondered because of that.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this, just to kind of bring this back to our little political segment of our podcast here. What group of people do you think are more spiritual, religious, believe in an afterlife, believe in God, that sort of description? Republicans or Democrats?
Well, Democrats don't believe in God. They're a bunch of Marxists, and the Marxists. That is why we keep seeing them do all these unscrupulous things, all these outlandish. They don't care. They just want power. They're not worried about a God looking down on them or whatever.
Being judged.
Yeah, they don't. That's why they don't. You know, their whole gay thing and the transgender thing, and you can be whatever gender you want. That is such an insult to God. It's like, no, he made you a girl. You're not a boy. And you're never going to be a boy unless you can change the number of chromosomes in your freaking body.
You know, we are supposed to exist how God made us, correct? I mean, we can alter our bodies by good health, exercise, you know, so forth and so on. But I mean, to alter your DNA or your sex or your something, I mean, it just doesn't feel very godly.
Not only that, it's funny how they always, their whole argument is, this is how God made me. Actually, it's not. You're actually going against how God made you. Idiot.
Interesting. So, not to say that every Democrat is a atheist or you know, every Republican is a God-fearing believer. I mean, they're
but the way the parties,
but as a whole, if you were to say, are there more religious people in the Democrats or the Republican Party? I think it's reasonable to conclude that there are more religious people or more people believing the afterlife in the Republican Party than the Democrat Party. Do you think that's a fact or theory?
No, I mean, I hate to tell you this, dude. Very few Democrats actually believe in God. They'll pay lip service. Like Nancy Pelosi claims to be a Catholic, and then wants to abort every baby she can. So I don't believe her for 1 second that she's a Catholic. I mean, or Joe Biden, you think he's really a Catholic? He doesn't believe in God. He's doing as many evil things as he can, stealing from us, working with China to enrich his family, all the way up to, and he's almost dead. You'd think if he believed in God, he'd be going, oh, maybe I should be doing all this right now. But he does, because he does. He's just a freaking Democrat. They just believe whatever they're told. They don't believe in a higher power. They believe we're stupid for believing in a higher power. And so they think they can do whatever they want. That's why they don't have any morals when it comes to the elections or stealing an election or acting a certain way or being they don't care. Communism does not believe in, communism has to get rid of God for it to work.
Yes, communism, and it's written by Karl Marx. We want to destroy religion. I mean, and it just seems that they adopt that philosophy.
They're also trying to destroy the nuclear family. He said that too.
And
that's what all this gender stuff is, and the gay marriage and breakdown marriage, and I don't know what I am anymore, and blah blah blah. It's to destroy everything.
It's interesting.
And that way you can end up in your little box, and they can rule the world.
It's interesting how all that is aligned. Now, I'll say this, where I think Christianity, in particular, of all the religions, gets a very bad rap in the media by Democrats or whoever you want to call people that are against Christians, is that the whole fundamental belief of Christianity and being Christian is to simply love and accept no matter who you are or what you did.
Yeah.
Whether you're a sinner, a non-sinner, doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter how you were born. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. Your race, your education, none of that matters. We are to love unconditionally, okay, and not judge, okay. Whereas they like to spin it to make it seem like, oh, Christianity is a judgmental kind of religion or a judgmental sort of belief, when in reality, it's the most non-judgmental religion out there on earth.
We're supposed to love every person except for Joy Reid. Other than that, yeah, everybody.
Yes, it's it's interesting, and the more you learn about Christianity, the more you can appreciate
Well,
it.
it's the only religion that tells you don't condemn everybody for that's why I don't understand the Ellen Page. I'm sorry, Elliot Page. Remember the girl that turned into a little boy?
Oh,
Ellen
okay.
Page, big actress.
Yeah,
She's won awards where her name was Ellen Page. Does that not exist anymore? Because if you get in trouble if you dead name her.
Was she
Anyway.
a girl and she turned herself to a boy? Is that what she did?
She's a girl who had her breasts cut off and thrown into the trash, and then added muscle, fake muscles, so she looks like a dude, but a dude could just pick her up and fold her and put her in his pocket if he wants. Because you know what's underneath all those fake muscles? Nothing. It's just fake. It's not really muscle.
She's still a female.
She's still a chick. She still has 40% less body strength. She has so many chromosomes. It's the same.
Oh, it's sad. Okay.
But I guess my point is with her, the reason I bring her up is because she was the one condemning Chris Pratt for being Christian.
Okay.
Calling Christianity the worst religion ever. And I said, yeah, it's funny because it's the only one where Jesus would tell us not to oppress you and not to judge you.
Correct.
But you're going to go against that because you're an idiot and you don't know anything about it.
As we go around condemning people in our Christianity.
Hey, whatever. Hey, I didn't say I was the best Christian.
Well, at any rate, okay. So moving on. Let's talk about also how Republicans tend to turn on each other much more than Democrats. For example, we have a big race on Tuesday, do we not? I mean, this is going to determine the balance of power in the Senate and Congress overall. The Herschel Walker, Raphael Warnock Senate race in Georgia, which is this Tuesday. We had a leading Republican in our state, Jeff Duncan, the current lieutenant governor, come out and say he's against Herschel. He can't believe that Herschel's the GOP nominee. And I quote, Herschel Walker is one of the worst candidates in Republican history, and he refuses to vote for him. He makes this announcement days before the election. Why does he do this, Chris?
I wouldn't care if Herschel Walker was a tree. I'm voting for Herschel Walker because he's not a Democrat. A tree is not going to vote for me to lose all my rights. The Democrats will. And this idiot is going to vote for them? That because he doesn't like Herschel? The guy's a fool. He's going to vote his own demise because he doesn't like Herschel. It has nothing to do with candidate anymore, dude. It's all about the party.
It just makes no sense. How much of Jeff Duncan's motivation to come out and be a Benedict Arnold, basically, how much of his motivation of this was because Donald Trump endorsed Herschel?
Probably all of it. Probably everything.
So why? I mean, okay, the man hates Donald Trump. Okay, why hate Herschel Walker, who is definitely not Donald Trump?
Because Donald Trump supported him, and that would help Donald Trump.
Donald Trump also endorsed Brian Kemp. Why didn't he come out against Brian Kemp?
Because they had a falling out. He and Herschel didn't.
What do you think this will do to Jeff Duncan's political career?
He's done. I mean, most people understand that we're not voting for the candidate anymore. It's who controls the damn Senate and who controls the damn House. It's not the individual candidate anymore. It used to be back in the old days, not anymore. That was back when people had principles and both parties sort of believed in God and they would go by the law, and so, not anymore. We have a lawless party in the Democrats. They don't give a crap. Look what the FBI is doing. All the stuff they did behind the scenes with the big tech was so illegal, but they don't care. Doesn't matter.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you, as bad as we think the Democrats are at being power hungry, wanting to rule our lives, as bad as they are, how bad do you feel, how bad is it for a Republican like Jeff Duncan to go against his own party?
Well, he thinks he's...
Who's worse?
Oh.
Who's worse, a Jeff Duncan or a Stacey Abrams? Who's worse?
Oh, Stacey, without a doubt.
Worse than Jeff Duncan?
I don't really know.
I think that people like Jeff Duncan are worse because at least with Stacey Abrams, you know what you get. You know what you get. She's a
lying piece of crap that lies to you and lies. With a big case of liarson on the lie line.
At least you know what you're up against. At least you have an understanding. With someone like Jeff Duncan,
he's like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
I don't know what the guy is. Is he a conservative like he claims he is? Well, I'm gonna read you a quote.
No.
Here's a quote by Jeff Duncan just the other day when he's throwing Herschel under the bus. And I'm quoting Jeff Duncan. I am a conservative. I'm a conservative because I feel like it is the best way to govern. I've been a Republican a lot longer than a lot of them. I think I've got kids probably that can articulate the conservative platform better than some of the candidates that Donald Trump and his group supported all across the country. He wasn't the right brand for republicanism, and I think Herschel Walker will probably go down as one of the worst candidates in our party's history.
Okay.
Do you believe him when you...
I think he's just as...
Do you believe him when he say he's a conservative and a Republican?
I believe him just as much as I believe Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Well, Liz Cheney, exactly. You think that Liz Cheney and Jeff Duncan are conservatives?
I don't think they know what being a conservative is. I think all they know is the old guard Republican Party being in lockstep behind the Democrats, having an occasional victory, but letting the Democrats run the show all the time and just being nice. And, you don't say anything brash, and that's all it is. That's nothing. That means nothing. Trump came in, he governed, he got stuff done. He cut taxes, he fixed the military, he moved our embassy to Jerusalem, which is where it needed to be. So I hate it when people try to call him some kind of anti-Semite. It's like, he's got 2 Jewish grandchildren, idiots. Right. He did more for Israel than any president has ever done for Israel, ever.
I think they're just piling on just to add another bad thing when they say he's an anti-Semite. I think they just pile. Oh, he's a racist. He's an anti-Semite. He's a bigot. He's also, fill in the blank.
The white supremacists wouldn't let him in the club. He's related to some Jews.
Exactly. Let's go on with Jeff Duncan. Here's another quote. Now, remember, Chris, before I read you this quote, people have bled and died by the hundreds of thousands in this country for the right to vote, just to exercise the right to vote. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to read this quote. I was one of those folks that got in line and spent an hour waiting, and it was the most disappointing ballot I've ever stared at in my entire life since I started voting, Jeff Duncan said. I had 2 candidates that just couldn't find anything that made sense to put my vote behind. So I walked out of that ballot box, showed up to vote, but did not end up voting for either one of them.
I think he's an idiot to having admitted that. Can he see that it's the party? He doesn't understand that. Does he not understand that we need the votes for the party to advance its agenda?
Exactly. Is he that? Okay, my point is this, and I'm getting to a bigger.
I know what you're going to say. You think he's full of crap, and he's just saying this to get elected later.
I'm getting to a bigger point here. Okay, there are people, a lot of people. If Liz Cheney and Jeff Duncan and Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. I could rattle out a lot of names that are coming out publicly that are elected officials that hate Trump so badly for some weird reason I will never understand. They're willing to wreck their own party and put socialists in charge. What does that say about the Republican Party? Does it say how divided it is? And if it is divided, why? Why can't we get united?
No, what it says is that they're dying off. See, it used to be that's just how the whole party was run. Republicans would promise things, they'd get in office, Democrats would stand in the way, Republicans would cave. That's what would happen every damn time, except for Reagan. But other than Reagan, Democrats would get in the way, Republicans would cave. Democrats would get in the way, Republicans.
George Bush caved. Remember, he said, read my lips, no new taxes. And what did he do? He sided with the Democrats and raised taxes.
Sure. But it's more like, I'm thinking more like the McCains, the Romneys,
the Bushes,
the Lindsey Grahams, those guys, that they just want to be part of the party, the big fun.
The uniparty.
I'm in charge. The uniparty. And the Democrats are like, look, we run everything. We run this city. We run this town. We run everything about it. If you just shut up and do what you're told, we'll let your half of the country falsely believe they're involved, but they're not involved. We run everything. Well, finally, Trump stepped up and just blew that away. That's why they hate him so much. That's why it was the screaming that you saw when he won and people going apoplectic. It was because of that, because they knew, wow, this might really be something good for the Republicans for once. So I can't believe this idiot. I mean, did he not see how Trump governed? He governed more conservatively than any other president since Reagan.
So why do they hate him so badly? Why do the so-called Republicans hate him so badly?
Because they want. It's not the brashness. It's not. It can't just be that. I think they liked the way it was. I think they liked the status quo. They don't like this
wrecking ball effect.
Yeah,
like that. Okay.
But we needed it.
Yeah, we needed
it. It had to be done.
We needed
Trump, it. Everybody talked about putting up a wall. He's the only one that did.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I've heard Joe Biden say a lot of stuff that made me angry. I've heard Stacey Abrams say a lot of things that made me angry. I've heard Nancy Pelosi say a lot of things that made me angry. Nothing has made me more angry, though, than what Jeff Duncan just said. About he's this so-called conservative, but yet Herschel Walker doesn't belong in the Senate.
Well, it still reminds me, dude, McCain said he was the conservative when he ran for president. And then when he's not president, it's, well, we have to be all liberal and be all nice to everybody. It's like, well, I thought you were a conservative. I thought you had conservative values. He's only a conservative when he's running.
Yeah, that's exactly
right. Same thing for Romney. Same thing for Romney.
Same thing for Romney. And well, look at Jeff McCain's stance on Obamacare. I mean, for years, the guy ranted against Obamacare. For years.
Yeah.
For years.
And then he got out of his damn deathbed to go vote against it.
Exactly.
Against repealing it.
Exactly.
And he did that just to stick it to Trump.
Exactly.
And you know how I know he did that to stick it to Trump? You know how I know that? The man politicized his own damn funeral to stick it to Trump. That's how much he wanted to stick it to Trump. Remember, he told me he wasn't invited to the funeral? He had Obama doing the eulogy. That was a stick it to the Republicans and the conservatives.
It's truly mind-boggling. These lifelong blue blood establishment Republicans that are so anti-Trump, they're willing to wreck the United States of America over it. I mean, it just makes no sense. It's
how I do it? You know how I judge them? I go, how would Rush Limbaugh judge them?
I would love to hear what Rush Limbaugh would say about Jeff Duncan's.
I think you know exactly what he'd say.
What do you think he would say?
He would say the exact same thing he's always said about McCain and Romney. He only supported them when they were running for president because they were running against a crazy communist. And he even said, look, I don't like all their policies, but they're still better than this guy. That was his argument. And he would defend them when people would call them Nazis and stuff, why I can't believe Liz Cheney sided with these people.
Liz Cheney. I mean,
20 years they've been calling her family Nazis. They called her dad Darth Vader. And she's behind them. What?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't trust them. I mean, at least with a Democrat, you know what you get.
Yeah,
but a Liz Cheney, a Mitt Romney, a Jeff Duncan, what are they? I mean, what do they really believe? Do they really believe in America? I mean, I don't know. I mean, like,
I don't know, because they're not conservative. Because if they, like, my point is that, yeah, maybe you didn't like Trump when he was running in 2016. I get that. Maybe you thought because of his past comments that he wasn't going to be, and plus he was a Democrat in the past. Trump was years ago. But why don't you judge him on how he governed when he was president? Everything he did was conservative. He opened up the pipeline. He made sure he protected free speech. He protected us against them. He pardoned people that were put in jail by the Obama administration.
Yeah, he sure did.
For political reasons, were put in jail.
Not just that, but they're willing to support corrupt politicians over a non-corrupt Trump. Think about this.
That's what happened in Afghanistan.
Think about this for a moment. Okay, Joe Biden. These people would rather see Joe Biden in there. Okay, Joe Biden is going to walk out of that presidency. His net worth will probably be 500% more before he walked into office because of all the corruption, back dealings, kickbacks, whatever you call. Donald Trump, on the other hand,
lost money.
So you're sitting there going, okay, you're going to support corruption, which corruption is very, very, very dangerous. It's very, very, very dangerous. With corruption, why do you think Venezuela is the way it is?
Exactly. Tim,
why do you think Cuba is the way it is? Why do you think Russia is the way it is? Why do you think China is the way it is? It's because of corruption. Donald Trump was trying to prevent that, but along comes Joe Biden. His pockets are wide open. Ukraine, sure, come on into my pocket. Russia, sure, come on into my pocket. I mean, you name it. China, come on into my pocket, China. And Mitt Romney and Liz Cheney and people like Jeff Duncan would rather have that.
I think I figured it out. It's because they're not Republican or Democrat. They're elitists. And that's what it is. Elitist. They believe they know better than everybody else. Because if you confronted, like if we could get Liz Cheney down and go, look, Trump did this and this and this and this, all these things that our side claimed they wanted, why aren't you glad about that? You know what her answer would be? The same answer we'd get from Nancy, same answer we'd get from Bill or Hillary. And this is the answer. You little people just don't understand.
The establishment.
We know a little bit better for you what's best for you. So you need to listen to important people like me. That's what Duncan is. He's an elitist.
You nailed it. It's the elitism, and it exists in the Republican Party. It exists in the Democratic Party, and it's the elitism. They're all alike. And here's the thing, Chris. Here's what it comes down to, man. Here's what it comes down to. Who are you going to trust? Who are you going to want to leave all of this to? You want to leave it to the elitists? Okay, so they're all alike. I do not like the elitists within the Republican Party. As a matter of fact, I think they're more
worse.
Despicable than the elitists in the Democratic Party because they're dressed and they talk like us and dress like us, but they're not. They're not. They would just rather support the elitism. I mean, you take this Jeff Duncan, what he did recently and what he said, it's inexcusable. It's inexcusable. And I hope he understands what he's doing. There's a lot of people that think he's doing this to set himself up for a national Republican power play, like maybe a potential vice president pick or something like that. There's no way.
There's no way.
He's
He would
done.
drive people away. He's not going to add people. That's why I love people like Ted Cruz. Ted ran against Trump, and it was bitter, and Trump accused his father of killing Kennedy. Remember that? And all that. So at first, Cruz could not endorse him right away. He couldn't do it. He just accused his father of committing, treason. But afterwards, he did endorse him and he did vote for him. And the reason he said that was because, I'm sorry, what's my choice? A man who I don't like around the edges, or Hillary freaking Clinton?
Exactly.
And so he's been behind Trump, and all that. And he didn't have to. He could have always cited those excuses for not going with Trump. Duncan doesn't have that excuse. He's just being an elitist. But Cruz did support him, is what I'm saying.
Now, let me ask you this question. Do you think it's acceptable for a so-called conservative, to just not vote for the Republican? I mean, is that the same as supporting the Democrat?
Right now, at this moment,
everything's so close. Everything's so razor thin.
I'd rather have you not vote than go vote for the other guy. I mean, that's better.
Right. That's a little bit better, but not much.
It's a lot better than voting for the other guy, because at least there's just no vote there.
But how elitist is it to not vote for the
Republican? You know what the elitist part is?
Because you don't like it. I mean, how
come back and claim it after you didn't do it?
Like the Bushes, they didn't vote for Trump. The Bushes didn't vote for Trump.
Oh, they hated Trump. They probably voted for Hillary over Trump.
They might have voted for Hillary.
They might have voted for the other guy who's the libertarian.
Maybe.
But I doubt it because the libertarian's going to be more conservative than they are.
Yeah.
So I'll bet they voted for Hillary Clinton. I'll bet you George Bush voted for Hillary freaking Clinton.
He very well might have.
I'm done with that family. I wish, even us now, as mad as we are at them, as elitist as they are, I still would vote for George Bush over John Kerry any freaking day.
Exactly.
So we're doing the right thing because
and that's the sad part is that
I'm not going to vote for Kerry because Bush isn't like me.
The base of the party is going to support the candidate no matter what, except for the elitists of the party.
Yeah. Well, that's why I loved what Trump did. They are now not the majority of the party. They were, and now they're not. So we need to keep doing it. Keep with the DeSantises, the Cruzes, the Trumps, and eventually they'll just be gone. There won't be any more of them.
Yeah, I hope so.
Guys like that.
There's still Liz Cheney, Jeff Duncan, Mitch McConnell, and Mitt Romney.
Hey, they can start their own party called We're Idiots. And that'd just be the name of their party.
The Idiot Party. All right. Well,
wait a minute. Hold on. Georgia, Ohio State.
Oh, yes. Georgia won the SEC, where Georgia is in the hunt for the national title. Georgia is playing Ohio State
For the second straight year.
December 31st, 8 p.m., New Year's Eve. It's going to be great. It's so good to see Georgia in the hunt for a national title and to win an SEC conference, which, by the way, people can say what they want. The SEC is by far the best conference in the nation. Is it not?
Yeah, but you know what? Georgia won the national championship last year.
True.
I didn't give a shit that they lost the SEC. I want that national title.
True.
And mainly because that's all we ever got was SEC championships.
Well, all I'm saying is, even if we don't get the national title this year, at least we did get the SEC championship this year. So it's already a very successful season, by anybody's definition. But to win the national championship, obviously, would be fantastic. Back to back. When's the last time a team won back-to-back national championships?
I don't know, but there have been a few teams that have. I was wondering that myself. But you know what? Nobody's
Florida do it. Alabama's done it. Probably Florida's done it. Probably
USC did it with
USC did it with Reggie Bush.
And Liner.
And Liner.
But you know what nobody's ever done? It's weird. It's just like the pros. Nobody's ever won 3 in a row.
Wow.
Ever. Not even Notre Dame.
Not even Alabama.
Not even Alabama. Not 3 in a row. They might have gone 2, missed 1, won 1, but not 3 in a row. Nobody's ever done that. So I'd love to see Georgia do that, because Alabama has like what, 15 national championships?
Something like that.
Ohio State has 12. We're so far. We got 2, but we could destroy all of them if we win 3 in a row.
3 in a row.
We could do something a pro nor college team has ever done.
That would be a legacy.
We'd be the greatest football team in history, pro or college.
The greatest program.
And it would take to do it with 2 different quarterbacks.
2 different quarterbacks.
We'd have to have another quarterback next year to do it if we win it this year.
Yeah, Stetson Bennett is like a 6-year senior. Isn't that what he is?
Well, they did because of the pandemic and all.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, either way, next year we're having another quarterback.
Who do you think will win the Heisman?
Stetson should win it, but he won't.
He deserves it. All the other nominees did not win a conference title.
That's
CJ
true.
CJ Young didn't. The Tennessee quarterback Hooker, he didn't.
That guy from TCU.
The guy with Max. Oh gosh, his name is
Deeds or something like
Duggart.
Doug Deeds, isn't that it?
Max Duggart, I think's his name.
Oh,
He's a great quarterback.
he's great. He's going to go to the pros.
He's awesome. But yeah, he didn't. I mean, Bennett's the only one. And what a comeback story. I mean,
I know. Just a walk-on.
Walked
on.
Got cut.
Wait a minute. He walked on, got cut, went to another college, came back, lost the starting position, and then only got it because of an injury, and then wins the national title.
Never gave up.
He did something Fromm couldn't do.
Exactly. Okay, well, I'd like
wait. Hold on. You got to break it down. What's going to happen?
Of what's going to happen with what?
Georgia, Ohio State.
Yeah, Georgia, Ohio State. I think that Georgia wins by at least 10 points.
I think it's going to be a blowout. 45-12, Georgia.
Wow. Oh.
You know why I think that? Go back and look at the last 2 times that Ohio State has played an SEC team in the championship game and look at the scores. Look, Florida, blowout. LSU, the very next year, blowout. I don't think they can keep up with an SEC team.
And don't you think that, okay, I like that. Don't you think that Michigan will beat TCU?
Yes.
I do too.
Now, I think it's going to be Michigan, Georgia.
Could Michigan beat Alabama? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they could. I think they could. Hell, Alabama lost to Texas A&M. So, yeah, I think they could. I think it's going to be Georgia and Michigan in a rematch of last year's game for the title.
And Georgia will win.
And Georgia should win it.
Now, are you looking forward to this 12-team playoff that begins in a couple of years?
Actually, I think 12's too many. I thought they were only going to go to like 6 or something.
They're going to 12.
That's a lot of fucking teams.
The top 4 gets a bye. So it goes, 12 and there's the top 4 get a bye. So those
there'll be 4 games 1 week with 8 teams.
Yeah, those 8 teams play each other. So that leaves 4, and then there's 4 on 4 for 8. Okay, then it goes to 4. Then it goes to the national title game. So it only adds. I think it adds what?
2 more games.
2 more games. So the way they did it.
Well, 2 more weekends. A lot more games.
Yeah,
because there's only 2 games right now. There's about to be 6.
What it does, though, it makes the regular season not count as much.
Well, you still got to win it to get in it.
You got to be in the top 12. They should, and you know what they should do now? They're going to this 12-team format. They should eliminate the committee and just go by AP ranking.
Oh, now that they're doing that, if they're going to do 12 teams, there's no point in having a committee.
No point.
No, just do the AP. Well, isn't the UPI still there too? Just do a mixture
of
the
coaches poll.
Yeah.
Either one, what you can't do a coaches poll because they would be incentivized.
Yeah, that's true. So just do the AP.
Go by the AP poll, and then those guys know more about it than anybody. Those committee guys. I mean, the AP guy, that's what they do for a living. They're sports writers, right?
Yeah, there should be no more committee anymore.
eliminate the committee and go by AP. I don't know if they're going to do that.
There's no need for the committee. What do you need the
No,
committee for?
You don't.
I mean,
Because once you get the
12.
top 12, and then they'll that 13th is gonna, and they're gonna want to take it to 16, and all this kind of. They should just stop it at 12. I mean, 12 is plenty.
Well,
Don't
that's
you
even
think?
more. That's almost too many.
Now, what's going to happen to the bowl system?
As far as I'm concerned, it's already dead anyway. Nobody cares about. We're going to go to the Orange Bowl. We're ranked 13th and 12th. We don't care. Nobody really cares. It's just everybody's
Except
focused.
those teams would care.
Not really, because
Oh no, if you're ranked 13 or 14, 15, 16, and you're going to the Outback Bowl, I mean,
oh yeah, they'll care. But I'm talking about like if you're one of those teams that almost made it to the thing and you didn't get in, you're just going to lose your dudes. They're just going to go to the NFL, and you're going to,
yeah.
So many leave if there's nothing else to play for, they'll leave.
Now, what do you
Nothing
think of
to get in.
Deion Sanders getting that head coach job at Colorado?
It's pretty wild. I guess he attracts people because of who he is.
Jackson State is undefeated again.
Yeah. How many years has he been doing that? 3?
I think this is either his second or third year, and you got to hand it to him. I mean, he had tremendous success at Jackson State. He's a good coach.
Yeah. Well, he probably does a good job of getting people in there.
But no doubt about it, he's going to make a lot more money and have a lot more facilities and a lot more of the,
and because of who he is, Colorado might get pretty good because
oh yeah,
a lot of players will go, oh, I want to go hang out with Deion,
prime time.
Yeah. So it might be great for him.
Okay.
And yeah. Georgia, you're predicting fairly close game. I'm predicting blowout. Let's do the podcast next week, find out what happens.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so we dedicate this podcast to my mom.
And dude, my condolences again, and I am so sorry.
Thank you. Nancy Bell Summerfoot feeling. God bless you. Rest in peace. Love you, Mom. See you in heaven. And signing off. And we look
at it. We'll see you next week. Remember to hit all the buttons.
Hit all the buttons.
Later, man.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Later.